Hey people, what's good? Jason DeBeas. This is episode 90. This is the Option Podcast. That dude over there, if you don't know, you will. That man, his name's James Barker. And the episode starts right now. Episode 90. I'm Jason DeBeas. That's James Barker,
How you
volleyball coach
doing?
extraordinaire, ex-military guy is like a freaking renaissance man. What's up, James?
How's it going, brother?
Yeah, we before we got on the podcast, we were talking about Riley Salmon. That's actually the jersey you're wearing, right? The USA
That's it,
jersey.
baby. Number 10.
Yes, number 10. We had a really cool conversation because he's not some and a lot of coaches have this conversation. I'm gonna give you the floor because you're the one wearing a jersey. We had a conversation, and I had a conversation with other coaches about how people say you're not big enough to play this position, or you'll never play this position, you'll never do that, and this and that. And here he is, 6'1", not just on the U.S. national team, not just being a starter in the U.S. national team, but actually being one of the people responsible for getting him to the gold medal game, right?
Right.
Yeah. We,
Yeah, I met him through some friends. I played against him. He's a Texas guy out of Houston. So he played with a guy named Kubicek and Thomas Pratt, out of Houston. And they'd always play open, at nationals. And, I played on a team called Nemesis for years. And, we were one of the better teams and for a long time. And we'd go to like A&M would host open tournaments. And so, we'd go play open, and talk about size. So I try to tell my girls too. It's like, I'm 6'2", and I've always been thrown in the middle. So then I go to nationals and, especially since the age groups, and I'm looking across the net, dude played middle for the South Africa team. He's 7 foot, and that's who I'm going against. And so, that's at Riley, kind of does that same thing. He was small, kind of like Karch was small, if I remember right.
yeah.
People said he was really too small, and look what he did. He ended up okay. So, he's just, and I met him and played, and then I got a hold of him through a buddy of mine and had him come do a clinic for our kids. And we got talking, hanging out, and we ended up playing in a tournament together. And he's, like I said, he'd be somebody you'd be worth getting on your podcast. He's got a great story, some of the struggles. And then, he's come out the other end now with the, doing a great job. First year at Jamestown University, men's program. Last year was their first season. Of course, COVID cut that short. But
Yeah.
just
I,
that size, my girls, as a coach, I've never had that big team. You see these guys walk in with their 13 open and they're all taller than me. And I'm like, where do they get these kids? And,
yeah. What's in a
I'm
drinking
walking
water?
in. Yeah. And I'm walking in and, all my kids, my biggest kid's 5'9". But, I the way I coach and the way I teach is I'm very, very like play aggressive, I'm 6'2", but I was the shortest kid in my class. So I always tell people I'm 6'2", 6'3" with short man syndrome. But when I play, I have to play mean and just nasty, and that was the only way I could hang with guys that were taller, more athletic,
Yeah.
more experienced. But I could hold my own. Not
I,
anymore. I'm all broken down.
I think the thing I like about Riley Salmon and Karch Karayan, and I'm not comparing them to on every level, but on this level, when they're in a game on the biggest stage, competing for the biggest prize in all of indoor volleyball, and we both agree on that. I mean, people leave their professional leagues, they leave big money contracts for like a short
Right.
patch to play. If they get to play in the Olympics, they're going to represent their country. It's it's unlike any other major sport, right? Like basketball, I
Right.
mean, LeBron might say, "Nah, I'm good." I want to be on the boat, but
Right.
Kevin Durant or whatever, right? I'm on the boat.
Yeah.
Um, the thing I liked about them is when they're actually on the court, you'd never hear anyone say they're only 6'2" or they're only
Right.
6'1". I mean, you might hear a commentator say that just once or twice, but I think it's because they play big,
Play
and
big.
this is all going to
Exactly.
be segue to my next question. I'm going to ask you. Like, I had Ryan Millar on the podcast, and
Hmm.
Ryan and I, because Ryan was part of that gold medal team in 2008. He was the middle, him and
Right.
David Lee, and I walked him through the quarters, semis, and finals, and I gave him the player that I thought save their asses, because quarters and semis is 5 sets. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Riley Salmon bailed them out of Serbia and Montenegro. I thought Serbia and Montenegro was a superior team, even though USA was 5-0 in pool. I thought they were going to get clam baked by Serbia and Montenegro, but he came up big, set 5. And then USA against Russia, David Lee came up with that really big one, and then a block off their oppo. And then there was a chuck that me and Millar were laughing about. There was an absolute chuck by the Russians that the referee swallowed their whistle. But David Lee, the next play, instead of, fixed it and then got the block. And then the finals was Clay Stanley. I thought Clay Stanley was like, hey, I'm an oppo. I'm here to turn lemons into lemonade. If I get blocked, I get blocked. If I don't, I don't. That is the life of a gangster. So I guess the question I have for you, because you were talking about your days as an active player, and you're listing yourself as 6'2". I'm 6'1", without hunching. I guess my question is, when you're actually on the court, for the most part, did you feel the same size as everybody else, or were with the exception of the unicorn, like that dude who's 7 feet tall, where you're just like, okay. I didn't notice that against the 6'6" guy,
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I guess because once I get on there, I never thought about it. It's just, I try to tell it like a coach, when you step in that square, it's on. I grew up and, I got quite a few fights and I've been in quite a few in my life, but it's like my dad said, you know what, son, don't fight to win. And I looked at him, what do you mean? He said, you just fight to make sure they never want to do it a second time.
Yes.
And, so and that just brings out the nasty. And so I play and I tell my girls, you know what? Don't take this the wrong way, but if I said, we did it this year. We played an open team, and that team was real snotty and rude. And so we walk out there, and I told my girls, I said, well, you know what my dad is? And I tell them that story, and I said, then I don't get in fights. But I said, so go out there and play. I said, don't just worry about winning or losing. So you play so hard and so fierce and so hard that those girls, when next time they go to a tournament, they're going to look and hope that we're not in their pool.
Yeah, and
those girls got out there and we beat them in 2.
Yeah,
and like I said, we were small, but I get out in that court and I get going and I get mad and I get funny story, playing while I was stationed in Germany. There's a big tournament, used to be, I don't know if it still is, back in the day. And it was all the military, all over Europe. So 400 teams.
Yeah, USAEUR.
You had to qualify.
It was USAEUR. Yeah. It was there was the Army European Championship, right?
Right.
And then there was USAEUR.
Right. And so we made it to USAEUR, and I'm in a co-ed team. I put together a co-ed team, and we made it. Dude, we made the Final Four with a co-ed team. But the team to get through, the Air Force team had this 6'9" Asian guy. And he had just been dominating. And, I had a little 5-foot female setter, and she was a sergeant. And I told her, so stand at the net. And I walk up, and that guy's standing there. And, he was really cocky, Air Force. And I told her, I looked at her and I looked at him. I said, set me a 1. And I looked at it, I said, I'm coming. And he goes, okay. And I said, all right. And I came and I hit his heart. All I could have, snapped his finger. That dude went, sat down, taped his finger. When he'd come back on the court, he wouldn't block against me. He'd turn his head and put his hands up like that. I had him, but I tell a kid that you just got to, it's the fierceness. That was the only way I could hang with these guys. I didn't have a great vertical one, probably 38, 36, mostly, and against 6'2". Never really played, wasn't coached, it's just Army, like you're saying, how'd I learn? I had a guy come up and say, hey, man, you play basketball? Yeah, that was my sport. And yeah. He goes, well, we need somebody for volleyball. I'm like, dude, that's for girls. That's, that old statement. I said, go out. So I go and I start playing. Well, I got my first couple real hits and I was hooked. And I started playing and anytime I could. And in Germany, the Samoan guys took me in. And
that's all you need from there.
Yeah.
Once you're with that crew, you're good.
Oh, road trips in a van and being the only white boy. It was amazing.
We could get fat off of them barbecues, man. We could get fat off of those barbecues, dude. Once you're with the Samoan crowd, and for the people listening at home, I also play volleyball in Germany. I played before I played professional. I played for a military community team in Darmstadt. and the best players out there are the guys. There's a handful of people from Guam who could jump out of the sky, of course, but then
Yeah.
there's this population of America Samoa, or just some Samoa, right? That you're
Yeah.
not gonna find a guy over 6'2". You're not gonna find a
No.
guy that you're not gonna find a guy that weighs under 240 pounds, and you're not gonna find a guy that jumps under 40 inches. It looked like Super Mario in real life. You ever play like Super
Yeah.
Mario Brothers? Like this little dude just
Yeah.
a little wide dude just jumping in the air and like lifting
Yep.
heavy shit, walking walking around.
Yeah.
Watching warm ups. The first
Yeah.
time I played for Frankfurt American before I went to Darmstadt, right? And we
Okay.
played Hanau, and they were
That's where
playing
I was
James
stationed. I was
Brown.
at Fliegerhorst by Hanau.
Yeah, it's good. Very,
Yeah.
very, yeah. I don't know if like they make the military send their Samoans there, but how the hell's a whole community team, just a
Yep.
community team that's supposed to be. I mean, it's hard enough finding people that play a sport, any sport in the elite level, but a sport not as
Right.
popular as volleyball. And you got all of these dudes, and how are they all Samoan with a couple of white dudes, right? So
Yep.
I'm watching them warm up, and they got James Brown playing in the background. I feel good. Right, so that draws a picture in your head,
Yeah.
and everyone's there's no good, better, best. There's no gradual build up to their hardships. They're coming right out of the box, boom,
Right.
boom, hitting straight down. I'm like, damn, don't y'all motherfuckers warm up anymore? So, and I remember playing them because they got in my head, like they get a block and they're looking at me like, stay down, white boy, and I'm like, stay down, and I'm from
Oh, the little patty.
yeah, look, petit roof.
Little patty roof. Yes.
Yes,
Of course.
so
Loved it.
which, by the way, I brought back to America when I came back. No one knew what it
I
was.
tried to show it to my girls, and they just looked
No.
at me like, "Huh?"
Nah. No, it's something that you got to keep doing, and sooner or later they catch on, and sooner or later the crowd starts doing it too, and then it's a
Right.
snowball going down the hill. I was at Hunter for
But
a
it's
couple.
that.
Yeah, I was at Hunter for a cup of coffee or whatever. But when he's like, stay down, white boy, like where I grew up, like you talk about, you brought your upbringing to the game that gives you your competitive nature. So I take your Texas upbringing and I match you with growing up on Flatbush, Brooklyn, New York, right? Like even the people who are not about that life, and this is the point I was trying to make, even the people who are not about that life know that there's a rule, this unwritten rule that you have to defend yourself, or every time they see you, they think it's okay to F with you.
Yeah,
And I think
you're
that was
done.
the point you were trying to make
Right.
with volleyball. Like if you lay down and die against this team because you think they're good, they're gonna look at you in every tournament and say, okay, we got pool play. That team I'm not worried about.
Easy, that's a win.
That's bait. That's bait
Yeah.
for the big fish. So yeah. So but the Samoan thing, I was like, please, man. I said, stay down, white boy. I said, why don't you go eat a pizza, you fat mother. And then the referee calls captains over, right? And then I go to the ref and I'm like, you should have shut down that white boy shit when you had the chance. And then I'm the one getting the red card and then when I get the red card, of course, the whole team and the whole crowd is like, Lua Petit, wah, wah. And I was like, I said, okay, they got me.
Yeah.
They got me. I learned,
got you.
And then
Yep.
when I moved to Darmstadt, my unit moved to Darmstadt and I played for their team before I played pro. And my team had two Guamanians, two Samoans, it was Guam heavy. I mean, I had it. And the guy's name was Ignacio Perez, and I'm sure people remember him because there's no Guamanian that's 6'7". There's just, he looks like an adult walking among children in that country. So,
Right.
but I guess
Yeah, they're just.
this is the question I was going to ask you about your club team that you've already answered. How connected was your upbringing to coaching girls as far as that competitive nature? Was it more about win or lose, they have to look you in the eye and respect you, and know that when, like you just said, was it that, or was it just showing girls that you can beat anybody on like there's nobody who's unbeatable?
I think it's a combination. You gotta, like I said, growing up small, we didn't have a lot of money, a small town. I had to fight for everything. My older brother, they called him Dolph Lundgren. He looked like dude from Rocky IV. As a freshman, he was already 6'3", just, and I'm over here at 5 foot, and, we'd have wars. But, so everything was a fight and a battle growing up. My friends thought it was funny. Hung out with, I had a lot of black friends, and, two of them, I give them a hard time now because they used to try to break my, and they broke my ribs in football. One of them knocked me out cold with a hit. They helped me up after. They thought that was fun. And so that's what I grew up against. And so I had to learn how to, you see, like you said, Flatbush, it's, you either got to stand up or you're going to get walked on forever. And so,
Yeah.
I try to teach
Especially
the
if you're
girls,
no, but especially if you're part of a demographic where you're different. Like you just mentioned, you're a few shades lighter in a sport or for a team that's predominantly black, right? Of course, they're
yeah.
gonna see you and they're gonna be like, "Yep, we this is the guy we gotta mess
Oh,
with." You know, Flatbush Avenue.
I went,
I'm mixed. I'm mixed, but let me tell you something about Flatbush. Black people ain't got time to dice up their white people. They didn't care. They
no,
didn't care if my mother was black and my father's white.
no.
It's
Most people
that
generally
dude.
don't. Yeah, but that's funny. I go to in Germany. I went with this guy, Sergeant Morning. My memory is really bad, but I do remember him. We play college basketball. He's a brother. So he goes, "Come on, let's go play basketball." We go to Hanout, and we're gonna play. Well, they wouldn't let me on the court. It was only white guy. They kept picking. So I just said, "All right, I got next. You can't stop that."
Yeah.
And I played that first game, and then ever since after that, once they saw how I played, I wasn't great, but I'd get after it basketball too. And once they saw it, then you're accepted and you're in. But you got to, I'm used to always having to prove myself.
Yes.
And that's what my girls said. Every time you step on that court, you're proving yourself, not just to the people in the stands, to the team you're playing, but to yourself.
Yeah.
You got to every time prove to yourself that you belong and you get out there. And if you go out and you give it all you have and you lose, then they're better. It happens. There's better teams than us out there. Get used to it. But if you go out there and you don't try, or you give up, or you pout, or whatever head case, you're going to live with that. It's going to bother you for days and weeks. And it's like I was a high school coach out of college. I took a head job at a private school. My first head coach, actually was my senior year in college. I was doing it at the same time. My first day with them is Antonio College Prep in San Antonio was their first game. Their previous coach quit that late in the game. And so they told me, teams are set. You can't move anybody. They won state the year before, and they graduate 8 seniors. And so they were like, just the 2-3 seniors are there. They just want to have fun their senior year. Nobody picked to be last. I don't care what we pick. So I pushed those girls and fought with those girls, especially my 2 stars and a little 5'6" outside who could get up and she could bang. She would fight me and fight me. Well, I had a 6'2" girl, and then there was another senior that was a setter, was friends with outside. But that setter could block. She just could block. And, but I play her. So we get in the playoff. First, we won a district, which blew their mind. And then we go into playoffs. And in the second round, facing a team, I think it was Nolan out of Dallas. I can't remember, Fort Worth, Nolan or something like that. We had 2 girls go at D1.
Right. And tell everybody what club you are again, because we're on
Texas 432.
Texas 432. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's my club. Yeah. And so, but this is it with Antonio in college prep, and we go and this team just wears us out for the first game, 15-7. This girl, she's got like 12 kills. So game 2, I made a switch. I put that 6'2" girl in for the setter, and that my outside got mad at me, but we won. And I took the stat sheet, and they're throwing a fit, and I showed them. First game, 12 kills, whatever number. Second game, 0.
Right.
0. That girl shut her down. And I said, it was nothing personal. Yeah. We're here to win. And the looks on their faces, like you're registered. We went 1 game 3. We made it all the way to state. And we lost by 2 points in the game 3 in state. Those girls came and cried, apologized to me, said, we just never believed you. We never believed what you were telling us, because we lost so many kids. There's no way we could do it. But we did it. So, I try to tell my teams that. It's a belief. Skill, talent-wise, were we as good? No. Yeah. But that belief and that heart, you're going to get through some things.
Well, to me, there's 2 kinds of club players, right? There are players who maybe see the resume that comes with the coach, or maybe it's like a big name coach, and there's an automatic trust system where they believe it before it even happens. And then there's some, like, like James, I always consider you a scrapper. You're a real coach, okay, and you're a more real coach than a lot of people with names bigger than you. So, and I'm on the air and I'm live, and I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
So I think the point I was trying to make was, if they do it your way and find out later, I think it stays with their memory longer, because you learn more from making a mistake or misunderstanding something, and kind of being like, oh, I got it. I think that's retained, as far as retained knowledge is concerned. I think you keep that you keep that a lot better. I think it sticks with a lot more
Right.
adhesive than
Yeah.
just saying, move across the room. Trust me. Listen, that was the way I was brought up. I never asked a
Yeah.
coach why. I mean, we're not Generation Y. We're Generation
Oh
X.
no,
Okay,
he
you
dang
know,
sure
why
didn't.
is not in your vocabulary, dude. Push-ups.
No.
And especially ex-military too, right? We
Yep.
can't. I mean, first of all,
Why?
your upbringing, then your military service.
In military.
Why? So
Yeah.
I think the point I was trying to make, I think there's something really refreshing about somebody just learning that on the go. And as a club coach, it's very, very important that we make them understand that the things that they get to prove to you have to happen in practice.
Well, it's
They
like
have
you
to
were talking
happen.
with
Like
Tom.
someone wants to serve, right? I want to jump serve more. But if they're in
Yeah.
practice and they're missed, and they've missed every single jump serve they try, you think I'm gonna put you in the game just to see if you could do it? That's not. I mean, I don't know.
Well, but
If my team is boss and we up 24-12, sure, skyball
yeah,
hit the ceiling.
but but just the way you just said, and you and Tom Sorensen was talking about it too, is that I'm a big switch on. I see too many coaches at all levels, and this is a person. Maybe I'm way off on this. And I think I told you this before.
Well,
They
they can come
coach
see you if
such
they
a
disagree.
fear to make a mistake. They got kids so afraid to make a mistake that they won't swing for the fences. They don't try things. They hold back. And and that begins in practice. I tell my kids all the time, practice is where you're supposed to mess up. Practice is where, when you swing 100 times as hard as you can and you see and then you start making adjustments, you don't wait to the game to do it. And then because you see too many times a girl or a guy in a game, and they're hitting control shots and they're doing okay. Well, the game gets tight, then they decide to let it loose, and then they miss and they swing out. I was like, no, the time was at practice, and the time to let it learn what you could do. Maybe at the beginning of the match where it's 2-2, and if you hit one out against the wall, then it's okay. It doesn't kill you. But
Yeah.
there's such a fear that a lot of coaches at the junior high and high school and club level, they coach these kids up to not make mistakes. And I'm like, man, I don't care if you get blocked. If you go up and you rip one and she blocks you, great hit harder. Now, if I'm telling you to be in this position on defense and you're over here, that's when the mistakes I don't like. But as far as you went up and I had a girl, every time she put up a block in the middle this year and she didn't touch it, she'd get upset. So I had to start, and then she'd get a couple kills or whatever. So I had to read the college stats to her. I'm like, look, the number one girl in the country is averaging 2 blocks a match, and it registered. Oh, yeah. I said, when you put up your hands like this and you put up a block and the ball goes by you, you did your job. Defense, you fed the ball to the defense. Now it's on them to dig it. But again, they just think that I should block everything. I should hit everything in. I should never make a mistake. I shouldn't try anything. I had it goes with these, there's a club here that will not let any of their kids, the only serve they're allowed to do is a jump float. And I get statistics and everything. The jump float is a harder serve to pass. But in what I've seen is sometimes you got to go away. I had a girl this year, she's learning her top spin jumper is a hammer.
Yep.
Is that easier to pass in theory? Yeah, because you just stand there and let the ball do the work. But in a bunch of 16, 17-year-old girls' heads, when they see that girl top spin it and here it comes, they get on their heels and like, oh my God, and they freak out. And so I tell my girl, let it go. Let it go. If you miss, I'll live with it. You don't worry about in, out, miss. You just bring the heat. Sometimes she'll be 1 for 4. Another time she served 12 in a row. It's just, but I set my system up that I can live with that. But it's back to the original thing, getting over the fear of messing up. It's okay. In my belief, it's okay to make a mistake.
And that's our
Learn from it,
responsibility.
move on.
And that's our responsibility as coaches, all right? Hey, we're both MMA fans, all right? I'll give you a Chael Sonnen quote, right? Chael Sonnen once said, he was in The Ultimate Fighter, and he was having a conversation with Uriah Hall about nervousness and tension or whatever. And he's narrating. You know how The Ultimate Fighter is. You kind of narrate, and then you hear him on the mic or whatever. And I take this with me, and I talk to my best players, because I've had club teams where, you know, we got as high as 5th in the country. And I've had club teams where... just this last weekend, I'm on a club team that lost every single match. All right, and my hotel smelled, you know, Excalibur smelled like a dirty ashtray. So I'm just like, get me the F out of Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. All right, yeah. Except herpes, you keep that shit wherever you go. But anyway, Chael Sonnen said, everybody tells you that losing's not an option. I think that it's absolutely ridiculous. Losing isn't an option.
I remember hearing that recently.
He said losing is an option. And this is for the people listening at home. Losing is the most readily available option waiting for you all the time. So if you're one of those players that has this hang up, like every point is like your last, and there's a whole bunch of tension. He says, I just want you to know the two things on a regular level. One, the other team's feeling the same pressure, and two, it's natural. Stop treating I tell my players the same thing. You need to just not treat this like this is some abnormal feeling. And the only thing we can do as coaches, like if they mess up, hey, you could say next play, let's move on, or you can have negative talk, you know, creep up in their head. And then when I say negative talk, I don't mean tough love. I don't mean coming down on someone for someone missing a play. Like I mean just only saying what they did wrong and walking away. That doesn't do anything, right? Like, you know, for example, if someone misses a serve, right, after they just got 2 in a row in, you don't say serve, you know, wow, you know, way to miss the serve after we got 2 in. No, I mean, just say, hey, we got momentum. You know, that's our controllable. Let's not. You know, you could go tough love. For people who cuddle their kids and for people who come down like an asshole, there's this, James, we both agree, there's this huge gray area. Right. Where you can give tough love to a kid, because I think it builds character. I think if the kid
then it also goes to the kid itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, some kids you could be tougher on, some you can't.
And that's our challenge.
You've got to learn that as a coach too.
Yeah, and that's our challenge as coaches. It's about even at that level, even at the juniors levels, you're managing personalities. You know, 10 times more, because their psychological growth is still still in play. Right.
I think the majority of the time I've had to call timeout and I let loose on my kids is more about their energy, their emotion, and like what I see. And I hate when I hear commentators, people, oh, this team wants it more. You know, come on. Everybody wants it. How are you judging somebody's want?
Nonsense.
But, you know, their body language is why commentators and people pick up on that. So I'll call them in and I'll get what is your problem? You know, get your head out your rear end. Let's go. You give me energy every point. Quit pouting, you know, and I'll get and a lot of times it's amazing that they'll go out there. And like last year, my 18s team, dude, we were losing, I think it was 15-4, and I was pissed. So I called timeout. I threw my hat down, and hey, I made it through the whole season this year anyway, so people owe me money. So without throwing my hat once. So
you made it through the whole season.
The whole season. So but last year I threw my hat and I ripped the whole gym could hear me. And those girls went back out and scored, and that team scored 2 more points the rest of the match. We made that kind of run and put it on them, and in game 2 just embarrassed them. And I told him after that, I called him again. I said, so you tell me, I didn't cover strategy. We didn't make adjustments. I just ripped you for your emotion, your energy, and how you were approaching the game. And then you went out there. I said, that should tell you a lot. I said, I'm 50 years old. I'm in fact going to have a heart attack if I keep having to be your energy stick and your emotion carrier. That's not fair. It's not fair to any coach. You got to bring that. In the day you learn to bring that, man, I could sit back and you guys rock and roll.
Yeah, man.
Then I could just make, adjustment
here. Wait, this game I get to play glorified babysitter. Cool. Yeah, so this is how it feels. So this is how it feels. Right. So this is how it feels.
Since 1996, and I haven't got to do that one time. Oh,
Well,
I see a bunch of those.
that's the reputation you built as a coach, right? Sometimes we're grinders, sometimes they're glorified babysitters, and sometimes there are real coaches out there that have good players doing real work, and
Yeah.
then there's
Yep.
some whatever. Like, I mean, look, for this club I'm coaching right now, again, bad weekend in Vegas. It's not about it hasn't become about winning a lot with this team. It's I made a decision like I'd rather have them just learn the game, the intricacies, and do it right. So this way
Right.
they're marketable under any system. You know, they know
Yeah.
how to play. They're learning a technique and they're exercising that technique through repetition. Where if they happen to be the worst player on a good team, they're not gonna they're gonna look like the best player on that team.
Right.
They're just gonna you know what I'm saying. There's some players
Yeah.
like there's some players on a good team. They're just rolling with the pack. You don't know if they're good or bad. They play to the level. So this is a big decision I had to make because in tournaments are about wins and losses when it comes to coaches and for
Yeah.
club coaches it's like no kid coming up wants to play for your club if you're the coach that like lost every game.
Right.
And I feel bad for any coach that has to go through that. I don't feel bad for me because with me it's already too late. I already built my brand. And everyone already. I don't have this insecurity where people won't think I'm a good coach. Everyone knows I'm a good coach, and next year I'm gonna have a good team. And if I don't,
Right.
just like every other team, me and you have built our life. We make good teams. When was the last time you were given a team where like every single player on the roster from top to bottom was a boss anyway? So I mean, it's nothing
Yeah.
new. So I mean, I don't. I had to have a when I came back from Vegas, long drive, man, bad traffic. Of course.
Yeah.
I wrote this letter to the parents, and bear with me on this one, because I said when I first took the position for 16's evolution 5 years ago, because my specialty is 16's, but this year I'm coaching 17's because Kevin Norman from Redondo moved up with his guys. So I said when I took the position for Evolution, the owner and founder gave me 6 categories as a priority as a club coach. Of the categories, which is like player development, for example, team camaraderie, etc., he asked me, where do you rank winning and losing in these categories? And I told him dead last. And he said, you're hired. Okay, so he said this because he knew in our combined half a century of coaching experience, winning does not happen without the process and learning the intricacies of the game put into execution. I said there are many styles and techniques that are taught to make one a better player, but at the end of the day, there is a right way to do this. And player development sets you up for the long game, allowing you to play any system. And I told the parents and I told the kids who read this, my next line is, I promise you, we're doing that. You know,
Yeah.
I said, that's why the whole time through the bevy of emotions you see from me on the sideline, you will more often than not see a Tim Robbins, Shawshank Redemption worthy curious grin. Okay, whether it's my player who was struggling going 8 for 11 on offense with 1 error, or Zach, my 5'8" 17s men hitting a quick set. We'll lose like 6 points in a row, and the other team doesn't think we're serious, and then boom, he'll throw one in front, and everybody's like, okay, we didn't know they had someone on that team that can do that. So those, but I told my kids, those are the things, those plays that are few and far in between that everyone does notice. Where at the end of the game, they could look you in your eye and they shake your hand, and you just and what we were just talking about again, pick your head up. It's not, I mean, losing is an unnatural thing to someone like me who's used to winning a lot, but it's also it's also a real thing. Sorry.
You know, and you got to go through those, especially the boys' side growing page. Our mutual friend, Arik Anderson, you know, down in Houston, he had I remember he had a bunch of brand new boys.
He's doing
in the season. They were bad. But by the end of the season, they were a whole different group.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it is a process, and trying to get parents to understand that, man. Yeah. It's just like all of our teams did well this year. We had a team, and, you know, we set up, and they actually did way better than I ever expected them to do. They were kind of a thrown together bunch, you know, and a girl said, I'll play middle. That's how one of our middles were. And she actually did a really good job. But, you know, they go to Orlando, and first day they go 2-1. Mm-hmm. Okay, man, you're in it. The next day they go 2-1, which put them in silver. Well, some of the two parents particularly lost their minds because we lost that one game. Yeah. Like, do you remember the club you were on last year that you were playing a bunch of those little 1 day here? I mean, you know, everybody gets a medal tournaments, and you even losing some of those.
No,
But
come
now
on.
you're playing against some of the best in the country, and you're holding your own. And we're just, as we start winning, people start forgetting, and that's what it becomes all about. And
Yeah.
take a step back, man. Yeah, we want to win. That's our goal. But no college coach has ever walked up to our court ever as me in all the years I've been coaching and watched our whole match.
Right.
And I've never had a college coach say, hey, did you win? They can care less. You know, they know what they're looking for. All right, I'm gonna watch her 4 or 5 points. I like her, don't like her. I'm interested.
And that's
on.
very important.
That's
But dude, don't you think that's very important for
Yeah.
club coaches? Club coaches for good teams and kids that want to be a part of that rock star or that all-star team. Rock star, I'm paraphrasing, but that all-star team. I try to tell some of these coaches to tell their players, like, once you hit the college team, once you hit adulthood, nobody cares what club you play for. Nobody cares what club you play for, because, like you said, if the club coach who was charged with your individual development as a player, as well as learning how to play well with others, if he did their job, it doesn't matter, because the people who are the most successful on the college and pro scene don't even recognize those club teams. Like, I'll give you an example. Who's the best player in the country this year for beach volleyball? It's Tina Gradina, right? She's from Latvia. Do you think she knows what MB surf is or 432?
Yeah.
No, she doesn't.
Alamo.
She doesn't know, and she doesn't care. And it's not like she's not nice. Have you ever seen her on the podcast? She's the nicest girl you ever met. In fact, she's so pretty. Like, one of my friends came up to me and was like, I saw your podcast. I didn't hear a fucking word she said.
Hey, speaking of that, I was so glad, because you talked to me about doing this, and you had that podcast with our boy Cole.
Yeah, Fears.
And I'm like, this pretty dude sitting in his truck, and I got to follow that. And I'm like, man, come on.
No, I had to up the ante. I was like,
I
had to throw an Olympian. I make sure I got an Olympian before you to really up the ante.
50 years old, right in my lane, not some young blonde dude who's sitting in a truck and still looking good. I'm like, man, that's not fair.
Let me tell you something. This episode is a selfish decision a very selfish decision on my part. I and Cole and Tom and all these other big names I just mentioned, Olympic gold medalists, NCAA champs, Hall of Famers, Peter's got in the Hall of Fame, Pepperdine, will all not take offense when I will tell them the guest I wanted the most on this show the last month was you, because I
appreciate that.
Because star power notwithstanding, can you get on here? Can you get on this show and can you say something engaging that people can agree with, people can disagree with, people can laugh at, people can cry at? I mean, I think my gift is I do get people to say things that they didn't. They came in the podcast saying, I'm not going to say that. Jason's not going to get that shit out of me, and I knew that if I could do that with players who, never even met me in person, like Sorensen, we never met in person, and that's a shame because we have so many mutual friends. That I knew that it's lazy and selfish on my part, because I knew you and me don't require nudging when it comes to talking. When it comes to talking about the things we want to talk about.
You and I both the same. We'll probably say more than we actually need to.
Yeah. For everybody listening at home, this is what the hell you need to do. You need to get off your keyboard, off your digital ass, and talk to a human being with your voice. You need to listen to him, and they need to listen to you, or him or her, and they need to listen to you. And you will be surprised on every level, on a political level, on an athletic level, on a social level, on an intimate level, how much you have in common compared to what divides you. James, ladies and gentlemen, one second. This is James Barker. This man is a Republican space ranger. I am a left-leaning independent snob. Okay, on a digital platform, we shouldn't even be friends. But then I'll go to Texas. This man comes to California, and it's like, give me a hug. And I
karaoke
swear to God, yes, Greg Faulkner, right? No, I mean, right.
Oh, so Greg and his
a lefty, a centrist, and a righty. I mean, all together, because they're together in the same room, and there's this unexplained force or feeling that we in our heart of hearts knows that brings us together. We're good. Be a good guys out there. Be a good fucking person, man. Just be a good
Yeah.
person. This
Well,
dude's a good. This
on that
dude's a good
same line,
person. You know.
that exactly. But that's, it's on another point it goes on is talk to people or, I so much better than, I'm better than, or I'm above you because I coached college or I coached this club or I played at this level. And man, I'll go, I've been playing since 1989 and I've been coaching since 1996. And I will go out and I'll learn something from a girl that's 19 years old coaching. If I'm paying attention, I may be learning what not to do, but I got my mind open and I'll talk to anybody. That's why, Riley, been another great guy, and he was small too. Adam Johnson. And Adam's coming in 2 weeks to do my sand clinic, and man, he does a great job. And Adam, a lot of people when you do, hey Adam, and they're like, Adam, like, have you talked to Adam? Well, no. Well, how are you gonna tell me Adam? Because dude, you talk to the guy, he will tell you what you want to know, and hey, that's a good idea, or he may say, you may want to rethink that.
But he's always willing to help. He's not, and he never. I've only spoken to him once. He's never speaking from up down here. He's never speaking from this high place where he's speaking down.
Right, James.
Like, look, we just talked about club volleyball, right? 5 years ago, I had a team that took down Cincy Attack, so we took their 5 spot. We got as high as 5th in the country, right? This year, we lost every single match in Vegas. 2 years ago, we win silver. So I'm all over the place as far as wins and losses or whatever.
Right.
Do you know how many times, like when they have coaches parties, do you know how many coaches parties I've attended at the hotels? Zero. You can count. I can count on one hand a coach that I've had dinner with. And I can name him by name. Fallon Fonoy-Moana, who's awesome human being, finance Amazon. Chris Flood, who's out here doing some stuff with the AVP, and he's probably going to take Canada to the Olympics. Hopefully he's going to be their coach. Who else? I don't like these circle jerks about why my team is so good and this and that. And I'm just like, I don't hear anything in the conversation about, like, there's this player I want to work. What do you think about this player? What do you think about her swing and this and that? At no time do they make it about just talking about the purity of volleyball. It's just these. Right. It's just about them. It's disgusting to me, and I sound like I'm casting aspersions on some of these coaches. I'm not doing it, and I guess I am. But no, I party with the parents, dude. I party with the parents, man. There's nothing like a group of parents who finally are away from their kids. Yeah. The kids are in bed and they just want to go drinking and singing and having a good time. There's nothing like partying with parents. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing about our club that I started this club 2 years ago as one team and then 2 teams last year and 5 this year. But you got to have good people, good coach. Like JJ Coleman's my assistant director. She coaches with us. And, she's more than my right-hand man. She sometimes yells at me. So, but that's what I need, but we got, Callie, I got a bunch of good coaches and we're growing. We're starting to interview some more coaches, but it's all about the right people. And all of us are willing to help each other. None of us walk out there. Like, again, my coaching experience is since 1996 and I'm suck at math. That's a long time. And probably twice as long as most of my coaches. But I listen to them and, hey, what are you doing over there? Okay, I like that. Let me see what I can do. And then, and I don't walk around like a dictator. You're going to do this, you do that. You let that guy hire a coach because I believe in them and let them do their thing. Am I going to make suggestions? Yeah. But again, it takes that core. You got to have that core, but willing to learn. But again, like so many college coaches, and I sound like a harp on it, but it's like a good old boy system. One, it's so hard to get in the door. And there's so many act like they're gods of volleyball.
You can't call it a meritocracy,
to promote the sport?
Right. You can't call it a meritocracy when you don't let everybody participate. Right. It's not a true. I said this to Wendy Jones of the Optimist Journal, who son worked really, really hard to get into Stanford. She's a power mom. She's got a daughter at TCU. Playing at TCU for Hector, and her son's an outside hitter at Stanford, whose program I'm happy to report is back.
Yes.
I told her if we're running stairs, let's say me and James Barker, we're having stair running contests. Don't think this man is not in better shape than me. He'll burn my ass in some stairs. So James, maybe I run like 60 stairs, maybe you run like 80, right? So stair running is the meritocracy. But getting in the building is not. Getting in the
Right.
building to actually get the right to have the right to
Right.
to run stairs is not. So it's not. I agree with you. It's not a complete meritocracy. There is a system that volleyball has in several instances imploded. I got a little bit of heat from Madison McKibben and some people when I said that they got consumed by their own arrogance. When you play the big fish in a pond, and the pond doesn't have enough water, and you become too big, you air suffocate. That was the best way I knew how to describe it. So everybody's like, what facts do you have to back this up? And then you should have facts before you say something like this. And I'm like, first of all, in light of the fact that the foundation of my statement is a matter of opinion,
Yes.
it's saying facts is irrelevant, because if I provide them with facts, they're going to say the facts are irrelevant. If I do a poll, you know what they're going to say? They're going to be like, well, that's a bandwagon fallacy. Just because a premise is popular doesn't mean it's right. If I do the AVP lost money at this time, they became bankrupt here. 2016, they had the lowest attendance. Oh, well, correlation is not causation. So there's no real, it's a trap question. There's no real facts that's going to back up my opinion. So I told him, I said, if you want me to name names, I'll do it in private because I have a podcast. And, people, look, James, we have conversations off the record. I'm not going to tell nobody.
Right.
Something really, really crazy about Tom Sorensen. We had a conversation when the podcast is over because someone told me to ask him in the podcast. And I'm like, I'm not asking him that. I'm not outing this guy in the podcast. So I'm like, people ain't going to trust me no more if I just start telling everybody what people tell me off the record. No, sorry.
Right.
So I agree with you. And I'm sorry if I went off left field too much. But
Well, I see it
meritocracy
as
comes into
all
play,
those
but
little
not really.
arguments that they keep making proves your point. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be arguing so hard if there wasn't some truth to it, right? If you wouldn't be fighting your opinion, like you said, but that's the other thing, though. You're not even allowed to have an opinion. They have tightened
No,
it
the
so much
gaslighting.
that it's just it's ridiculous. But
Well, in public,
it's getting better.
people are different in public. Look, in public, his post got all the likes. Okay, he's Madison McKibben, who, by the way, is my favorite McKibben. He is an awesome person. He's the one who gave me my first interview when I was doing the beat for Volleyball 1-on-1. He was the one that stepped up and said, "I'll do it," and then from there, everyone else followed. So I kind of owe him that. But in public, he's getting the likes. But in DM, in private, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. So the overwhelming support I got in private are from people that don't want to post because they don't want to be that person. Like if you're the guy who complains a lot in California, and if you're that guy, no one wants anything to do with you. It does, even if you're right. It doesn't matter if you're right. So that's something a lot of people have to be careful about.
Do you think a lot of it is just also a fear of, what they're supposed to be the best competitors? They were great competitors, and coaches still about competition. It's almost like they're afraid of that competition. Like Adam Johnson, look at that dude's resume, and there are schools that don't. Oh no, no, Adam. Like, dude, man, if I had a college or if he lived here, that dude would be coaching. I mean,
I saw him at the Garden.
I'm not scared of it. I bring all your knowledge, but it's like they don't want that. Oh man, he's going to show me up or something.
First time I saw Adam Johnson, Madison Square Garden. Him and Stokey played Karch and Steffes. And that was the boom period of from 1990 all the way up to 97. There was a boom period for indoor that transcended, that leaked out, that trickled out to the beach, right? If you look at 1990, the best college players were playing on the world scene. Brian Ivey, Brent Hilliard, those guys, Becker, Nick Becker, Sorensen. And then AJ, I saw him in Team Cup Volleyball. Do you know what Team Cup Volleyball is?
I honestly know.
I'm trying to see if I could YouTube it. Team Cup Volleyball, ladies and gentlemen, is when the beach players get together and decide to play indoor. They move the 10-foot line to the 15-foot line. One person from the back row is allowed to come up and block. And this is 1992 and 93 and 94.
I saw a video of that. So.
And it's rally to 23, but at 23 there's a freeze. So that's the cool thing about Team Cup Volleyball. And AJ was, I think, part of Team Coca-Cola with Doug Partee, and all of these guys, Ricky Ludi, Steve Salmons, a mixture of guys, Alan Knipe. played middle for Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell was basically all the Long Beach State and Pepperdine guys, Stavertly, Stetson. Where is it? Here it is. I want to show you a picture, a video, what this looks like. It is ridiculous.
Out of rhythm, and remember I talked about at the very beginning.
So this is Team Cup volleyball. This is, there's AJ right there.
Yep, that's
And
the
look,
video.
look where
I
the
was
10-foot line
watching.
is, James. Look where the 10-foot line is. The 10-foot line is half, like 12 feet or like almost half court. And let's watch one more play because you're gonna see this 4 blockers front row, and it's almost like pretty much every single play has like 3 blockers. And let's watch one more play. See if, please don't serve out.
Yeah.
So I think in game 2 they'll get Acosta out of that passing rotation.
Well, one now.
Yeah, let's watch one more.
Well, they ought to help him out.
Hurry up.
Is a world-class
That's
passer. He's
Acosta.
proved that, whether he's on the
wait a
national
second.
team.
I think there's Uvaldo
Yes,
Acosta. I think he coached George Mason.
World-class passer, but he's struggling right now. He just has lost his
See the
control.
blocks?
Get him out of
3
there,
blocks.
take the pressure off, and then get
Yeah,
him
it's
back
cool,
to
man.
interception
So,
gradually.
yeah, Acosta actually ran something called a mirror offense for 1 year. He had 4 lefties. So he had the setter come in from the left. Because he had both of his middles were lefties. So he ran, and I've never seen it done, and I've never seen it again.
I've had a buddy named was Dan Verner. He was a high school coach, now he's an engineer for Boeing. So, but that dude was a great coach. But he, high school coach. But he used to always talk. Him and I talk. He's like, my dream is to have 5 lefties.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna run a reverse offense. Like it would just throw everybody out of sync. I mean, but
I've only seen it
the problem
twice.
is, I think I've only had 2 lefties.
Well, yeah, you got a right-handed setter, right? Because a right-handed setter and a mirror offense can hit on 2. He can option more easy, has better court vision.
Just everything's backwards. That'd be crazy to watch.
So that was the first time I saw it in the late 90s. George Mason, a Division I program, EIVA team, ran a mirror offense for 1 year. And the second time I saw it, there's a league in New York called New York Urban Professionals. That was a league of working professionals that played urban league, like in gyms, and it turned into a professional league because then started being purse money, and then like all of these ex-college players, they started having a Division 1, 2, and 3. We ran a co-ed team. And Division 1, co-ed is 24 divisions, but men's and women's is Division 1, 2, and 3. So we had a co-ed team called Team Leftovers. Setter's right-handed, a female setter. I'm like, wait, you're running a mirror offense? I'll hit middle. I'm like, because for so long, I mean, we're indecisive, but for so long, I'm like, I'd love to just hit a middle set that doesn't have to like cross over to my midline where, forcing you to reach over your head. But man, that was so much fun. But I've only seen that twice. I have a question since we're in the subject of lefties. I asked Sorensen this, and I want to ask you because you're both coaches, club coaches. What's your thoughts on running lefty middle? Why do people run?
My thought is I'm not supposed to ever do anything. I think everybody, of course, sticks to the standard. Mm-hmm. But I've come across, if I've had a really good, most of the lefties I've had were already setters. But if I ever had a really good, I think it'd be great because it's so odd to block. I've had to block a guy that was left-handed middle, and I don't think I ever touched the ball. It's just it's so quick, and so actually you're going blocking off of habits in the middle, especially at my size. Mm-hmm. So it's a reaction, and all my reactions for all my years is to go block that right hand, and then bam, he's bouncing it right by me, and I'm get all pissed off. And so, it's but that's about asking that question. It kind of leads to anything. Is like I had a coach. She's actually coached for me this year, but she got her first head coaching job. I said, a lesson I learned a long time ago is don't be afraid to do something different, out of the norm, and try it. Because I had a girl at Weimar. I was the head coach at Weimar High School, little 2A high school, and setter dislocated her shoulder. And the team we're playing. So this is 2A high school. Like the town has 1,200 people in it. So the team that we got to play is in our district, and 2 girls are going to Division I. One went to LSU, one went to Tech. So that's at that small of a school. And so I said their coach had them, and both had outside hitters, which that's what I'd have done. So I said, what we're going to do is I told my setter, when you're front row, you're going to drop off. Middle, you're going to go block right side. My left side, you're going to block middle and try to get out there if they back set. So we always had that double, and we ended up beating that team. And that coach called me like 2 days later and said, "You a-hole." What? She goes, we were so used to it. She goes, "We could have literally just back set over the net the whole match and scored points." I said, "Yep." I knew that. I took a chance and it worked. And we went on to lose in the regional championships, but that was the team we had to get through. But I took it, you know what? It's out of the norm. People are like, "What are you doing?" This is, hey, so we're going to have to take a shot at doing something different to get these big girls. I cannot have them one-on-one.
Yeah.
Just don't kill us. And so we double blocked them and they still got kills. But it was a simple with their coach and just all season. They were so used to
they didn't crack the code.
They did.
Yeah, they
all she had to do was, it was that simple. Just back set the ball over the net because everything was shifted to take on that girl.
Yeah.
And they never set they never back set it. They never set it over backwards. They never did it. Not one set was to their right side.
Yeah.
They just kept feeding their girls that got them there. And like I said, but I told her, I said, that taught me right there, sometimes, if you think it, take a risk, take a chance. And if it goes wrong, it goes wrong,
and I mean, sometimes you have to do some things out of the conventional in order to achieve
That's where growth comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the NFL. I mean, how it was 20 years ago and 60. It's just somebody comes along and does something different and everybody makes fun of them. And within 5 or 10 years, that's the norm.
Yep.
And it's the same with volleyball. You watch old volleyball videos, some real old ones, you're like, oh my goodness, that's just so basic. And then you see things and, but those risk takers and the people that do that, like you said, the mere offense, that's how you evolve the sport.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. Last weekend in Vegas, I had 7 kids on my roster. One of my kids got a bloody nose. He got 6-packed on a line shot and he had to get out. And the referee explained the rules of something called exceptional substitution, where my libero can change his jersey.
Yeah.
And whatever. So my libero, I don't like making short people synonymous with liberos, but my guy's small. He's undersized. Okay. Yeah. So when he was front row, I just had him play a position 1 deep. I had my setter play position 1 short. We had to change our men's style of defense into kind of a women's rotation defense instead of base, straight up base. And we blocked 2 blockers against 3, and they couldn't figure out a way to get past our double block. I mean, if you look across the net and you see 2 guys front row, you're like, we're going to tear this team up. We're going to have one-on-one situations, and if we're in system and my setter has any kind of peripherals, there's definitely going to be some plays where there's one-on-none. And we managed the double block everything for the rest of the match. By the way, it was our closest match. It's the only close match we had this weekend. It was 27-20. We lost 27-25, but I think it was some of the best coaching work I've done because they didn't make the adjustment. They didn't crack the code.
Yeah.
And the only thing that would even make the conversation halfway worthwhile is if we won that. We didn't, whatever. But
how close would it be? I mean, that what you did made it what it was probably, and would it have been 25-12 if you hadn't done that?
And I'm just happy that it was one of the situations where they didn't have all these fucking questions. Excuse my language, but where I just told them, all right, I need you short, I need you deep, and I need you guys to block tweener. You're between middle and outside, you're between middle and oppo, and you guys double up on anything out of system. And I told my servers, man, now's the time to hit or miss because we serve lollipops. They're gonna figure this out right away. But very, very proud of some of the work I did this week.
We served that, serving. I'm a very aggressive coach when it comes to serving.
It's the single most important thing you're going to do at every
it makes up for our lack of size too.
Yeah.
We're going to swing, but we're not putting anything straight down. And I don't have a hitter that puts the fear of God in anybody, but they all consistent.
Right.
But we score a lot and keeping them out of system barred with aces. But, one of the best compliments now I take as a compliments I ever got as a coach is when somebody came up to me after a match said, "Your girls look like a bunch of boys teams playing."
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yep.
Because we run stacks. I'd teach them stacks, shoots, back. We run X's, cross, all kinds of little things if they could handle it. And again, you got to have the kids with the talent to do
the
it.
Clientele,
But I'm like, why? Because everybody's so used to seeing a quick or high out or high back all day long. Everything's the same. And I'm like, man, I'm too small to do that. They'll shut us down. So, like you said, I've never had a big team.
No, but if you remember Penn State when they were 4-peat champions, they the women's team I'm talking about, they ran like a men's style base defense. I mean, for the people listening at home, like I don't mean to be sexist about men's style and women's style, but you'll see a lot of rotations, a lot of defenses called, one is called rotation, where the setter or the girl playing position 1 moves all the way up to the 10-foot line just to play tips. And then the girl position 6 swings all the way to the line, and then they get all of their action from the pull,
Right.
the pull 4 and 5 shifting over. But base defense is no. The 2 blockers get in the outside hitter or the oppo's face. Base 3, you're probably like 10 feet behind the 10-foot line off of base 2 to cover the middle, and you just cover everything out and in. And a lot of women's teams don't do that because they don't have the athleticism to do it. And
Yeah, but we don't.
Penn State
I-
wasn't the tallest team, but they were the most athletic. In fact, the tallest team I think was Stanford. Alex Kleiman. They played Stanford, and Alex Kleiman was the outside hitter on that team, and she's huge. She was like a 6'5" outside. She was ridiculous. So, and Penn State beat them twice. So four Pete champs. But sorry, go ahead.
Which knowing what you got talent-wise is a big first step. What is my kids are capable of doing that, that gold standard that courses USA Volleyball does. That's a lot of great information. But I see so many clubs now, they apply it to the T, and I'm like, you do realize that a lot of that stuff is based on elite level athletes. And you got Becky Sue off the ranch over here. She's probably going to have to make some kind of adjustments. And and that's one thing. I'll listen to everything, but again, I have to because I've never had that team of all these 6'2", 6'3" elites. I've never had it in all these years. I've yet to have that team. And I've seen a lot of. So I've always had to. We got to adjust here. Okay, when this girl's front row, we're playing this defense. When this girl's blocking, we're doing this. And so, but again, that's what you're supposed to do as a coach.
Right.
But knowing your talent level is a huge first admit, because I see so many even into college that this is my system, and okay, your system's not working with what you have. I remember watching a video that I think it was K-State's women's coach. I love it. He goes, "We never practice free balls," and I'm like, "What?" Because I'm like, he goes, "Because we never get them. we're too small."
What's the point? I don't see the point.
Goes, man, we're out of system, or I hammer at them and we dig, and that's what we work on. He goes, "Why am I going to spend a time on something I get 1 or 2 a match?"
No.
So if he goes like UT, and he did mention, he goes, these big schools, if they do get them, of course, yeah, they need to work on it because the dude, we never get it. I'm not going to waste my time. And I had to rethink because I used to do a lot of free ball. At the high school level, yes, we got a lot. And I always told my girls, and like at Weimar, I was like, we're going to be 85 to 90% success rate on free balls. No, that's the standard. That's what we're going to make our money. And it worked. But you get in club, and at first I was kind of do that, but I'm like, then I had to take a step back. We didn't get that many free balls.
No.
So we had to refocus and what we worked on.
Well, I think I share a similarity where I think the only time that I've been in the season where I didn't have to do more with less was the team that I built in the first place that came back. My evolution team from 2019 had to do more with less. My libero, was probably told by his coach he's too short to play outside hitter, forget about it. And I'm not that guy. I'm like, I will come up to that kid and say, don't let anybody tell you what you can't do. I can and can't do. I will give you a reality talk. I'll be like, look,
yes,
I'm not gonna lie to you. Everyone walking around playing in the same position you is taller than you. But if you want to be an outside hitter, you got to do this, you got to do that. Your box jump should be this. Get with that trainer for that. And if you want it in a bad way, if this is what you want, don't let nobody at the end of your road move the goalpost or move the finish line. So doing more with less, my libero became an outside, and then I decided to move up 16s or 17s, and that was an all-star squad, man, and of just talented short and tall players. And then COVID happened, and then I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
it's got to be like that. And the second team was Hunter High School. I was a 5-year coach there, but years 1 to 4, I built it from the ground up. I basically cut 7 juniors and seniors to make room for a group of freshmen. Decided not to do JV because I only had 6 people for JV. So I said, no, I'm just going to do varsity, and I'm going to stack up the roster. And made so many. I'm a first year coach, and they're like, "Who does this guy think he is?" And he's cutting this guy. Now that guy's been with the team, whatever. And I'm like, "We tried out like a bum, no." So but it paid off, because it only paid off because as freshmen, we won our first round. We beat the higher seed. And then the 7th seed, Bronx Science, was a good program. We beat them 2-0. And now when you win the first 2 rounds, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, you're in something called the Big Gym, where everyone gets to watch all of the teams play one match at a time. So everybody's like, how the hell did Hunter High School get here? And those guys are all freshmen, And then sophomore, same thing, big stage. Juniors, we expected to make the semifinals. Big stage, one and done. And then the senior year, they all got it. They all played with the right clubs too, which helps. And I'm like, which club are you playing with? Who's gonna send my kid back after? So 38-1 record, right? We entered the nation's top 50. Madison Square Garden gave me Coach of the Year. So that was the one season that I didn't have to do more with less because of what I built. Right. And interesting stat, they were the first championship team to produce no NCAA players because the school has a heightened emphasis on student before student athletes. So, right? Yeah. Setter went to Yale. They don't have a team, right? Oppo and Libero went to Brown. They don't have a team. Outside hitter Johns Hopkins. They don't have a team. So it was like that kind of school, Right. So, yeah. So
smart kids.
But I guess the same thing with you. You had to do you have a reputation of doing more with less, but you're going to have those seasons where you don't get to say that because of what you built the previous 2 years.
Yeah. Look at where we're at. Like I said, 2 years ago, 1 team. Last year, 2 teams, 2 or 3. This year, 5. And 3 clubs in our area now have folded in the last month. They said they're done. And last year, I had 24 kids play sand. I got 96 girls out there right now. So we're about to blow up. But again, it's about, I got to find the right coaches. You see a lot of clubs, they get all these kids and then they'll go, hey, will you coach this team, team? They're chasing this. And I want to make money, but it's not about that. I will turn a team away if I don't have a good coach for them.
There you
I'm
go.
just not going to do it, because if we're going to build the rep and we're going to be the club, and like I said, JJ, my sister, we're on the same page with this. We want the best of the best. And we're going to play them, and you're going to be part of this, and we're going to travel, we're going to play good players. But our main focus, I always tell them, it's not winning. Yes, we want to win, but it's about making you the best player possible and getting you recruited. And I don't promise you will play college, but we're going to do everything in our part. You have to do your part, and that's what we help these kids, because out West Texas, they get no exposure.
Yeah, and be careful.
No college coaches are coming out to oil field. Freaking. And they're just not coming out here. It's too far. There's nothing out here. And so we got to go to them. And that's what we do. And that's what we offer. And that's our goal. And what we're strong. I got 5 new coaches I got to interview, and 3 of them are JUCO or have been college coaches. And so, like I said, I want coaches with knowledge and resumes. And, I got a girl from Baylor who played 4 years at Baylor. She's going to come on with this. So, again, it's, there's a lady branched off from another club that just folded, and she's trying to bring a club in from Dallas. And hey, more power to you. But again, who you got to coach? You got to have coaches, and I hope they do get, because it should be about the kids. And I'm going to limit our cap. I want 2 teams at each age group, and that's it. I see these clubs like 5, 6 deep. I don't want to do that.
No,
that's not what I want to do.
That's not your mission.
Other clubs.
That's not your mission statement.
No.
You look. Yeah. No,
but we need other clubs to be there for these kids,
and that's what you need. That's going to be your challenge as a program director as you interview these coaches. You have to make sure, James, that your mission statement, whether it's singular or whether it's multiple things that are in conjunction with your mission statement, make sure that you have that down going in when you do the interviews. Because as you continue to win and as your programs continues to have success, the good coaches are going to come. Like Evolution, there was just me, and there was this guy, Lewis Richard, who was actually a player. He played for Long Beach State, repeat champions. He's the only black guy on the team. But Tom Chaffins was there. I mean, we practiced at Redondo, right? Tom Chaffins was there
Right.
for years. Why wasn't he coaching this club? He wasn't, right? Kevin Norman, who's the boys team. I mean, I sound like I'm yelling out on him. I see him all the time, but I'm not doing that. But I'm like, where were y'all the whole time? You know, but as Evolution built as a brand, then the good coaches came. And the guys I just mentioned are exactly the guys we were happy to have. But we have to make sure that they're in conjunction with Duncan Avery, what his mission statement is. We're the only club that promises a kid plays a full set. You know, one kid plays a full set, not a full match, but a full set, which is something the others don't do. They're just happy to be on the practice squad because they know getting the practice in with the best players they think builds their brands. And I think that's a huge mistake in club volleyball. I think individual attention is going to build better players 10 times more than group training sessions, which I call them group training sessions. Kids that join those teams that don't actually play, they just practice. Like you see them on the beach, you'll see like a whole bunch of the best players have these training sessions, and those are good to just feel out. But those, if you notice, the best teams in the world don't do that. Qatar doesn't have a training group. Remember we were talking about Qatar, the two beach guys? They don't have a training group. They don't, and they only scrimmage once or twice. They only train amongst themselves because the individual attention and the fine tuning takes precedence. And look at them. What was it? Cancun, 3 finals in a row, dude. Only losing to the 2 guys that don't even have a tan. Never mind a training group. You know,
we kind of have right now, and like I said, as we grow and as we get better and get kids, you know, it'll change. One thing I am is about that's that military. You better be able to adjust, adapt, and overcome. And like right now, we promised no one playing time, nobody. But I do my part to, you know, to play every kid. Like I had a girl, her parents, they were full support, but when we were up or we're down, or if it's a pool play and we're good, play her. If I could get her in there, a couple rotations, play her.
Yep.
But, you know, push come to shove, I'm going to go in my main group. And that's what, because of, you know, there were some clubs that promised, you know, everybody will get to play and all that. And I'm like, you know, for that club that works and what you're after. And we kind of had to go the other direction for now. But again, if we get to where we want to go, then I think, you know, that's a good thing. Because again, I'm a big believer. You get better by playing.
100%.
Get on the court.
Yep.
Competition.
Yep.
That's how I learned everything. Because again, I played. Army guys taught me Samoans, and then all Army coach. I can only remember his first name. His name was Orlando. He's from Puerto Rico. Played middle.
I can't
Ohio
remember
State.
his last name either.
His name was Orlando.
Yes.
First, last name, who knows which one it was. But that dude was insane. And we would I told people I went to All Army at 220 pounds. And I was in shape. I was PT 3 times a week, playing volleyball in El Paso. 3 3-hour practices a day. You did sprints at the beginning, at the end of every practice. And of course, I'm with the Samoans there too. And so we'd eat breakfast, practice, eat lunch, practice, eat dinner, practice, and then go back to the room with the Samoans, and they break out the skillets and the Spam and the rice, and we'd eat again.
And then you got PT in the morning.
In 33 days that I was there, I came back at 195, dude, and I could touch 11 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, and then 2 weeks later, I had surgery. I had a tumor on my rib. See, that's dedication. A lot of people don't know this story. So I applied for All Army, and I got accepted to go. Well, first, my captain didn't want to let me go. Well, the major, our commander, I was 3rd Air Cav, you know, Blackhawk crew chief in El Paso. Our number 1 guy was got third in the heavyweights in Olympic wrestling. This dude was a mountain. And he called me in his office, and I didn't know why. I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to murder me. You know, what's going on?
Dude, you're in
he
trouble.
goes, you apply for that All-Army volleyball? Yes, sir. You got accepted? Yes, sir. You're going. I said, well, Captain, he said, I don't care what Captain said. You're going.
Captains can be dicks, man.
And so I went. Well, so they gave me the date that I'm going to go to tryouts. Well, I was doing the Gulf War physical, and so I got scheduled, and I had this bone that they put me in, they scan your whole body. They pump this fluid through. But they found a tumor on my rib, and that doctor he starts writing this paperwork. He gets on and he goes, I go, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm going to see if we can't schedule you in for next Tuesday for surgery. I said, no, sir. I said, I'll leave Monday for All Army volleyball. He goes,
Stop
son,
playing.
you know you got a tumor like just all over your whole rib. If that's cancerous, I said, well, 30 days ain't gonna make a difference. I said, I'm going. He goes,
Yeah.
he calls in another doctor to try to convince me.
Oh man.
Like, son, this is serious. I
Yeah.
said,
You told me go
I've been
deliver
trying
someone's
for this
baby.
for
Yeah.
6 years.
Mhm.
And I had to sign a waiver, and I did. I signed a waiver that if it was cancerous or something, that they were hands-free. I said, I'm going All Army. So I put off that. When I got back, they had the surgery and found out it wasn't cancerous. But I was like, that's how into it I was.
Oh, come on. So they put you through all that shit and
Yeah.
you would have missed your opportunity for something that didn't exist?
I had the tumor. They removed my rib. It's gone. But it wasn't cancerous. But again, my mom was freaking out. You better go have that. I said, I'm going.
Oh my
Going to
God.
volleyball.
Everybody,
That's how serious it was.
everybody likes
And then
ribs.
it's hard for me when I see girls. Like a girl, oh, it's my friend's wedding. Girl, I could have had cancer tumor and I still went. And you talk about dance.
So
So it's
was,
hard. But
was the tryouts still at Fort Benjamin Harris? Was it
up
Indiana?
there by Penn State in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
When I did it was in Pennsylvania because
All right.
then we at some old base in there.
Okay.
When you go, was it Orlando the coach?
Orlando was the coach, but the tryouts at it was like a 21-day tryout, like a camp tryout, and it was at Fort Benjamin Harris where
What year did you
we
go?
call the Chairborne Rangers.
Yeah. What year?
92.
Okay, see, I was 95.
And then I got yanked off my military team and there because we had this hush-hush mission with the Italian army in Italy, and I wound up I was a generator mechanic supporting MI. And there were can you fucking believe it? There were no other generator mechanics. I mean, I made the team anyway. I was the only generator mechanic. There was one guy who was an NOCIC, so he couldn't go. One guy is getting kicked out of the army because of weed. This dude has a profile because of his knees, both of his knees. Even though I just played him in basketball, the dude dunked on me, right? I tried to shoot a 3, and when I tried to shoot a 3, he's literally flies out of the air and knocks my 3, and I'm like, this is the dude with the
If I got a packet
knees?
that thick, huh?
Yeah.
Profile.
Oh my God.
You remember seeing them when you go to the military hospital? You got sick call, and you see those people have 2 folders.
Oh
They're in
my
there so much. Like,
God, man. Dude, but I was like, okay, fine. I'm a soldier first. I know what I got to do. So 92 kind of got delayed. 93 was my campaign year. That was the year I got to play for a Darmstadt Army European Championship 3rd, USAEUR 3rd. Played for got recruited to play for a German team in
so
Darmstadt.
did you leave Germany in 93?
I left in just
We were just because I got there 90. Towards it, I think I got there because when did Somalia happen? Because I got sent to Somalia.
That was it. I left just before Somalia. I was between.
I got there
between
probably
wars.
4 months, and I was playing in volleyball. And that's another story is we get to Somalia, and I convinced the guys we set up a volleyball net.
There you go.
So we get out there, and I had these pilots and stuff, and we'd play. And of course, a lot of them sucked, but I was.
No,
we're
but the
playing,
Air Force guys are as good as you're gonna get, right?
Our base, the way they had the base set up, we had Navy, Marines. There were some Air Force guys, of course, us Army, and then they had these. I think they were Nigerians, the Army military. They circled the camp and they did the perimeter, right? Well, one of the big generals or commanders would do his run there, and he saw our net, and he saw us playing, and he had somebody come talk to me about putting on a tournament. So I put on a tournament, and they had the Nigerian guys, the Marines, and we won. You put it on. So I got a letter somewhere, and it's from the commander of Somalia. It says, James Spike Barker. He just came, and he made this letter, and he signed it. It's
well earned, well deserved. What was your MOS?
I was 6'7" tank. I was a Blackhawk crew chief.
Okay, cool, man.
Yeah, I flew on Blackhawks.
Good for you. Wow, dude.
Yeah, I got out of Somalia, the movie Black Hawk Down. So that was 30. Those were the 160th guys. And when we were there for 4 months, and then we get sent, they closed a lot of it down. They sent us back, and they came in, and then that's what happened. Several of my friends, one of my good friends he went to that unit after it happened. And so, that's just, but That's what I did, and I did. It was a Desert Storm but I also crewed Hueys. I got flight time on Hueys.
Nice.
So
There was a
flying.
ceasefire. I was an AIT when Desert Storm happened, and there was a ceasefire 2 weeks before I graduated AIT. So I was supposed to stay in Virginia, but they recut everybody's orders to go to Germany, except 2 guys who went to Korea. My job, 52 Delta, as boring as it gets. Generator mechanics supporting 165th MI. And supporting 30-second signal and 165th MI, because like there just weren't a lot of generator mechanics. So in fact I think they cross trained a lot of the the 63 Tangos, like the Humvee mechanics and cut V mechanics to do generators too. So but
one of my big
I felt good being loved.
is I got out in '95. I was stationed in El Paso, and I'm gonna tell you, back then El Paso.
Yeah,
that's the most volleyball I ever played in my life. I was on 5 different league teams.
Yeah,
every night. I mean, every night was a different league, and they took it serious. I played against the guys. There was a guy named Kiki. He was an ex-national team. He would come across, and then this little dude, he made the national team. That guy was like 5'10" and could jump and put the net here, and he'd just look around and then I played against those guys, and but they offered me to re-enlist. They came with my weakness. They came at me, my kryptonite. They said Hawaii. Oh. And because Hawaii was always my dream still. I tell my kids all the time, I said, I can't go to Hawaii until my youngest is out of high school in Hawaii because I won't come back.
All right.
So I'm going to have to wait. But they offered me Hawaii, and I thought about it. But the only problem was there's one Blackhawk unit in Hawaii, and it was at that time. And you supported special ops, and out of a year, 6 months of that year, you were never in Hawaii. You were off playing war games somewhere and saying, I've had enough of that. So I got out. But to this day, I'm like, man, I could have signed up for 2 years, went there, did my 2, and then I'd be in Hawaii. Right
was El Paso, is that Fort Sam Houston?
No, that's San Antonio. El Paso is Fort Bliss.
Oh, Fort Bliss. Okay.
Yeah. Because Sam Houston's in San Antonio.
Yeah, that's a party. That's a party base. That's an AIT for like dental assistants, medical.
Where's
techs.
that? Oh, Fort Sam. Yeah.
Now, Fort Belvoir was too. Fort Belvoir. It's where all the generals didn't. For the generals that didn't want to stay around the Pentagon, they lived at Fort Belvoir, which is 30 clicks.
I was that way. People would say my first unit was Savannah, Georgia, Hunter Army Airfield.
Gotcha.
And dude, I would have done 20 years there. I love Savannah. Man, I love Savannah. People don't know this white boy used to dance. I became really good friends. These twin brothers, black guys, and they take me out, and I started learning how to. So that whole Vanilla Ice and the Kid and Play, I could do all that. They took me to a club. It was downtown Savannah. Back then it was 150,000 people. It's 51% black. Yeah. They took me down there and took me in a club where they stopped the music, and these people were like, there's a white boy in here, and they just pushed me, said, go to the dance floor. So we get in there, dude. But in 10 minutes, I had them yelling at "Go White Boy," and we got second place. And each got $500. But while I was in there, they shot a white dude outside. It's like, what the? But that's the kind of, like you said, the life you grow. But I had a blast. Man, I had a blast in Savannah. Playing beach volleyball for the first. Remember, I told you I argued with the dudes. I didn't know what I was doing. What's a double? You all are idiots. And now I'm like, God, I was an idiot.
Isn't it like hilarious when this is last year's NBA playoffs when Montrezl Harrell called Rayonich a bitch ass white boy, and like everybody's like, is this racist? Is this offensive? And I'm like, it's not. No, but listen, here's my take. It is in the classic sense of the word, it is racially insensitive, but the people who cared the least were like white players. Like they were more offended by being called a bitch ass than a white boy.
Yeah, well, I almost took it like a badge of honor. The fighting words is calling me a B, not calling me a white boy.
Hey,
whenever, to me, when I guess because how it was when my color came out, to me, I took it. I'm on them. They don't like it because I ran a 400 in the Army, and so we go up to the line. I'm the only white dude, and I swear on my life, this black guy's going, what do you run? What you go? What you do? What you do? And he comes to me. He goes, you don't count. You're white. What you do? What you do? And I beat them all out first. And at the end, he goes, man. And that color got you, didn't it?
Yeah. And it's weird because listen, it is racist, but it's not racist that comes from this inherently evil place.
Hate,
It just comes from a severely misunderstood stereotype, right?
Yeah,
You
I think a lot of it though is
Yeah.
just it's street talk, it's slang,
It
white
is.
boy, it is.
But
the
like I
Samoans,
said, we're
they
not
made me put
but we're not
white
throwing
boy on
down
the back
because
of my
someone calls me
jersey.
a white boy. We throwing down if someone calls me a B,
Yeah.
bitch ass.
I'm telling you, I have a picture of my
Right.
uniform in Germany. The Samoan guys put white boy on the back. That was everybody else had their name.
Yeah.
I had white boy on the back of my jersey.
Oh, and I, you know what? When that came out, I was telling myself, I'm like, Montrezl Harrell, you need to watch yourself because wherever you think this white dude grew up,
Yeah.
it's nowhere. It is unlike any hood you ever think you will experience. That dude is Eastern European, okay? So the way he had to grow up, I'm telling you, had to be. I mean, talking about this guy thinks he's tough because he grew up here or there. Don't mess with them Eastern Europeans, dude.
Hey, I cannot remember who he is. There's a comedian, he's a white guy comedian.
Yeah.
He's got the shaved head. He goes, I'm no tough guy, but what I did perfect is the Russian accent. He goes, so guys that come up to me and he'd go, I'd start talking, and dude, he goes, it scares the crap out. It's his whole story. It's hilarious, but he goes, but I'm serious. He's like, I would talk that way and people would not mess with me. Like, oh, wait a minute. That's a whole different world right there.
So, and when I lived in Harlem, I had a friend of mine that he had something if he felt like people were looking at him like a few shades lighter, he did something called the EPA. Not Environmental Protection Agency, the Emergency Puerto Rican Act. His Spanish, dude, his Spanish is really, really good. So he just either had a friend or he got on the phone and just started talking Spanish. And everybody's like, that dude's Puerto Rican. We're gonna leave him alone because like where I grew up, I mean, there's a cultural boom that happened in the 90s on, but from the 80s all the way up, if you were Puerto Rican, you were black. Like in my, Bushwick, Brooklyn, Flatbush, or whatever. Again, black people don't have time to dissect their white people, but white people didn't either. If you were Puerto Rican, you're black. If you're West Indian, you're black. So I get that.
One of my best friends, and when I got out of high school, I moved to Florida. Two guys always hung out. One of them he was from Chicago, Latin Kings. His name was Hippolito. He's a big old heavy boy, and we call him Hip, but he's Puerto Rican, but his parents moved him because he's getting too much trouble. But man, I'd never get going to his mom's. We go to his mom's, we'd be at his house, crash that night, and in the morning she'd wake you up and you'd get down and that table is full, like there's going to be 30 people there, the red beans and rice, and you better eat at least 2 plates. I ain't got to tell you, I'm Puerto. And so we'd fill up and like, we go sit. And we'd hear about 15 minutes later, it's like, Hip, what's she doing? Oh, she's making lunch. Like, what? And he goes, and you better eat. I'm like, oh my God. So we quit.
But isn't that the secret? Isn't that the secret?
Yeah.
Look, James, you're a man from Texas. I'm a man from I'm a New York guy, but I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. And if you want to bring races together, cook for them.
Ooh.
Cook for them. Yeah. Who the hell don't want to go to a Texas barbecue? Who don't want to go to a barbecue who doesn't want to go?
Chris Austin came, we barbecued for him.
Yeah, man. Well, he's a Texas product to begin with, even though he moved early. But in Brooklyn, like who doesn't want to go to a West Indian barbecue and have some roti? Have some cocoa bread, right? Like Latinos, right? Who doesn't want to go to a Latino? Who doesn't want to get some bacalao, some codfish, right? The Samoans, we could be here and the Guamanians, dude, we could be here all day. There is, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this podcast, the most important thing you learn inside or outside of volleyball, the best thing that brings all races and ethnicities together is to invite them to dinner.
Yes. Hey, them Samoans, man, we'd bury that pig, go play volleyball all day, come back, dig it up. And I used to always tell people, man, them guys live for 3 things.
Yep.
Volleyball, cooking, and barbecuing, and fighting. And I said, not necessarily in that order.
Well, basically, that's all you need,
but
right?
The nicest,
that's all you need.
But they were the nicest guys. Like, if you befriended, once you were in with like you're saying, the Samoan guys, you were in. No one. And I mean, I lost it, and it hurts my soul to this day. But one day before I left Germany, there's about 10 of them. They called me over. And they go, we got something for you before you leave. And it's the llama, the thing they wrap around their waist. And they gave it to me and said, now you'll always be one of us, brother. And dude, I cried, and it was a big thing, and I freaking
That's
lost
a big
that.
deal,
And it
man.
breaks
It's
my
like your
heart.
brother,
And
man.
I lost touch with them all.
Yeah.
I had a black book. It had all these guys, but it had girls' numbers. And so when I got married, that black book disappeared. I'm like,
Yeah,
you
of
could have
course.
just
You got to
sharpied
go.
out all the girls' names. But I have lost. I think in the Army, I'm in contact with 3 guys.
Well,
That's it.
Facebook, you'd be surprised. I mean, the guys are
try.
easier to find because the guys are still gonna have the same last name. You know,
Yeah.
like
I
my
try and
sergeant in
try.
charge. We had a very similar path. Like I had a captain that told me I wasn't playing volleyball, and I had a sergeant major who came to my battalion commander, Paler and Taylor. Those are the 2 guys, and he said they were drunk at this place called the Tropical across the street from our base in Darmstadt, and he said, "Sir," no, he didn't call him sir. He said John because they were, I guess, outside the base. He said, "This is the best volleyball player I've ever seen in my life." And I just said, "Oh, fuck, don't say that." Oh, man, you're going to come to a game, and if I suck, you know, he's...
Have you watched volleyball?
Look, I was good. I was good. And if I'm on a professional team as a left side hitter, as a starter, you know, then that means they know a winner when they see one, because that's something I did. Look, the people that jump higher, the people that hit hard or whatever, but something I did better than anyone was always find a way to win. And I knew when I speak for both of us, it was only a matter of time before guys like us became coaches. There's this savagery, that this go-getter, whatever it takes. If we gotta grind, we gotta grind. If I'm 15 points better, I'm gonna beat you by 15. That I knew in my heart of hearts, and you'd see it. It's a very similar path that made me a coach. That I knew I was gonna be a coach, and of course the gift of gab. I'm a commentator, but yeah, very similar paths, man. Two vets, man. Ass kicker from Texas, and just an average kid from Brooklyn.
That's it, man. You know, just from 2 little different worlds. But that's the one thing I loved about, like you said, the sport too, and other sports do the same. But I had lots of good friends I met through volleyball, and you know, and it opens up your eyes. He said, bringing food together. You know, and I don't want to go down this path, but you know, that's playing with a lot of gay guys, and you know, and you learn, man, great people, and you learn. You know what, man? To each their own. I don't care what.
I'm a victim of stereotypes.
And I'll tell you a funny story about that. At Nationals about 5 years ago, we went, and it was in Louisville, and we were playing in the 40s.
Okay.
When there's a guy, he comes walking by us, and he is pissed. He's kicking chairs, and it sadly looks like me, you know, shaved head, goatee, redneck, and he's just mad because they just got beat by the tranny team. Yeah. He just could not. And dude, we were all laughing at him. He was like, dude, they're still good. It don't matter. But those guys, because they got on that court, and they're all being tough guys. And then, dude, them training guys, they put it on him.
But aren't we all victims of the stereotype? Like, I'm not speaking for trainees, but speaking for gay players, gay volleyball players. When you see a gay player, and you're looking for a libero, you're fighting to get that dude on your team.
Yep.
Now, this is an example of how we're all. I mean, we're not supposed to talk about it, but this is the Option Podcast, and we talk about whatever we want. But let's be freaking real out there, people. When you see a gay player who's 5'8", and you ask him what position he plays, and you're like
libero.
Recruiting players, and he says libero, me and you, we throwing hands for that dude. I mean, may the best man win. If this is the only way we got to do it, James. All right,
that's it.
You know, you've been
Indian
in more
leg
scraps
wrestle.
than me, but I'm willing to fight for this dude. But that's. I mean, people have to remember, sometimes these subject matters are fun to talk about because we're not belittling someone because they're gay. We're like the badass white boy thing for basketball, or a white guy dancing. I mean, that's every bit as racist and discriminatory as anything else. I mean, people don't want to call it racist because it's poking fun and it's affection and they don't mean anything. But racism, in the classic sense of the word, is the inherent belief that someone is superior or inferior based on their race. Okay, so when someone says white man can't jump, it's racist. Okay, and some people are like, oh, that's the truth. Maybe not, but whether it's true or not, you know, I mean, so people have to be careful of the labels. So I speak for James and myself. I'm not defending myself. I'm just saying sometimes if you're comfortable in your own skin and your friends are comfortable in your own skin, it's fun to poke fun at race. It's fun as long as it's not hurtful. I mean, it's really about your demographic, huh?
San Antonio is where I lived for years, and that's where I played most of my adult volleyball. And they, like I said, played with and against them, and we've been out at times. And dude, somebody beat, I get right for you. You ain't gonna mess with this guy.
Yeah,
you better back off. I stick up for my friends as my friend. I don't care what color, race, and that's why I try to teach
once
my
you
kids.
Consider them a person.
Yeah,
it changes.
That's what everybody
everything.
needs to do. But my son, I got 11-year-old, I got a 24-year-old, and I got 11-year-old. My 11-year-old has autism. So we put him in 2 years ago here in Lubbock. It's hard to get school care during the summer. It fills up with that. So we found this place, and it's on MLK Boulevard. So I can tell you, he was the only white kid in this place, but he loved it. But his second day, he calls my phone. He calls my mom, his Nana, and his mom, freaking out because he loves to dance. And he was dancing, and the little black girl tells him, "Oh, nigga, you can't dance." And because he called him the N-word, he didn't know what to do. He's calling and telling everybody she called me. He come home, and I go, "Son," I said, "Dad, you're okay. It's okay." I said, "You just don't ever say that to them."
Yeah,
and you'll be okay.
I mean, come on. Speaking for my black brothers, last time I checked, that was the only advantage they had. I mean, come on, right? I mean, finally, are you kidding? They're like, after all these years of oppression, they finally found a word to use the term affectionately.
Yep.
The last thing they need is a room full of white guys to get together and be like, all right, this is what we're gonna do about that word and what black people can do. No, come on, man. Right?
I know my son, but he loved them. But it's he did. I guess that autism, he didn't know what to do about that.
We all need to have autism, man, dude. And then I speak for your son. In that case, we all need to have autism, because the straight and simple approach, when you make someone a human being, when that person has a name. And for the people, I guess I'm defending the people who say they don't recognize race. I mean, at the end of the day, physically you can see that you recognize whatever. But defending the people that say they don't recognize race, those are the people that once someone has a name, and once someone has a face, and once there's an emotional investment. I understand when people say, I don't see black when I look at that person. I don't see white, or I don't see Latino or Chinese when I look at that person. And that applies us on the social level, because we're not getting into that. We can get into that on another podcast where me and you can be more real about the social dilemma that's been taking place the last 2 years. But you get what I'm saying when I say once you're in a neighborhood and that person has a name and a face. He could be homeless, but he's that guy with the beard that you see all the time. Oh, that's Tyson.
That's Bob.
That's Tyson. Yeah, whatever. That dude, drunk every night, banging on his wife's door. Oh my God, call the cops. That's this dude again. But you're not thinking of these people as less of a person, because they're not. You don't see them, and you don't see just person without a name.
Yeah,
that's all. I mean,
that's me. If you make my friend. If you become my friend, that's and it's how, again, part of how I grew up, was raised, and also that military thing. Loyalty is my number one thing.
Yeah.
If you're with me, then you're with me, and I got your back to the end. I don't care what the odds.
And is there a more diverse group than you and me on this podcast right now? Right. You and me put together, as far as like black, white, Latino, gay, straight, trans. Is there a more diverse? Is there two people with a bigger demographic than us?
Yeah. We probably know. But the thing is, you put it aside.
Yeah.
Everybody now acts like you got to agree on everything. If we agreed on everything, it'd be boring.
It's just
like I can't stand that hat you're wearing, but
Yeah. Oh, you mean the most celebrated sport, the most celebrated team in all of sports, the most celebrated franchise in all of sports.
if it makes you feel better, my wife loves them. I can't stand them.
I can only say this about the Yankees. If they don't win a World Series the next 20 years, they're still the most celebrated franchise.
Oh, yeah. You got to give it to them.
People shave. Yankees still don't allow beards on their team. People are willing to freaking shave. It shows how much. Look, the Yankees are like Bill Clinton. Once you love them, once you have your mind made up, once you see that light behind them, you just follow the light. I made a joke about Bill Clinton. I said, we love Bill Clinton so much that when that thing happened with Monica Lewinsky, we blamed Hillary.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. You just got to get those people to love you.
it's like
But,
Michael
yeah,
Jackson, right? Or with the
and they're
kids.
the evil empire.
Remember
you
the
know?
kids? No, remember the kids with Michael Jackson when he got
Yeah.
Chris Rock said, he says that shows how much we love Michael Jackson. We love Michael so much we let the first kid slide. It's just
He
JB, I got another podcast tonight, so I'd like to
I got about to hit the road. I got practice tonight.
Jesus.
I don't know if you know. I've told you.
Please.
You know, I drive an hour and 50 minutes one way to get to practice. And then I get parents or kids like, oh, I got to drive 15 minutes.
Yep.
Man, come on now.
It's that. Well, that was the last subject I wanted to talk about. Talking to kids. I don't think there is a specific age that you talk to the kid and you give them the coming to Jesus moment. Like, look, how bad do you want it? Remember I was just talking about the positions, the libero that want to be whatever. You have to ask yourself how bad you want it and the level or hours of dedication that you want to put into it. Because we were just talking about this kid doesn't, I don't know, this one had prom, this one had an ingrown toenail, this one has feelings. And I don't think, and I'd love to give you the floor on this, but I want to finish what I'm saying by saying this. I don't know the specific age as a club coach that I have that talk. I know 16, at 16 and up, I can only say 16 and up, they have to know by 16, which is why I'm a 16s coach. I think that's where my strengths play to the needs of a lot of these programs. But for the floor is yours. Is there an age or does it come from when she says, I want to do this?
Well, I think you can do it in levels, even at the 12s. They're not sure yet, but you start instilling that, you're going to miss some things. Okay, Becky's birthday party versus practice, I get it. You're young, you want to have fun, but it's just, there's a line. But that word right there just said fun. If you can have that come to Jesus of whatever age group it is, and you put the work on them, but somehow you still keep it fun and interesting, they'll buy in. Too many coaches equate work hard with miserable. And treat them like crap, beat them down. We're not, there's time for it and places to do some things like that. But for the most part, man, I push them. But I'd say if there's that one age group, it's 15, 16s right in there, because that's when they start. Some of them are on varsity, but they're, hey, I want to be varsity, or I'm really looking at college. And like I tell my girls all the time, quit coming up and tell me you want to go to college, and then 2 days later you got an excuse why you're not at practice. That's fine. You don't have to want to play college, but don't tell me how bad you want it when your actions show me something different.
Exactly. Very, very.
It's simple right there. You can even tell 12-year-old that.
Man,
don't come tell me how bad you want to do something. When it's just like, I really want a bag of candy. Well, but I gotta put on a costume and walk 400 houses to get it, right? So you got to do some work somewhere.
It's true.
So,
and that's a perfect way to close out this episode. Is there a particular site or a little plug you want people to know more about Texas 432 and what you're up to?
We're just up and coming. We have our website, texas432volleyball.com. But, like I said, we're so new and still building. But look out, we're coming.
Yeah.
Like I said, every team of mine, all of our teams at every tournament but 2 made the gold bracket. Every tournament this year, all 5.
Yeah.
So, Lone Star and Orlando. So we're coming. We're still new. We're small, but the old stupid sayings, dynamite comes in small packages, right?
Yes,
so
it does.
We're
Kaboom.
coming. But like I said, my goal, I shared a video. Just keep it out. Look out. If you're on Facebook, friend me. Like I said, we share. I got kids that really do want to play college, and they're out looking, and we're on Sports Recruits, but, we also post on Facebook and whatever. I just shared a video of my setter who had to carry us as outside hitter. And go check that video. You get on there and watch her set all year. And then she would, and last tournament, girl broke her foot 3 days before our regional championship. She goes, I'll hit outside and watch her. She carried us. We only lost 1 game that tournament, but a match. But that was the match that knocked us out of the bid.
Right.
But, we went 7-1. But that girl put it on. Watch her passing. It's unreal.
Jeez, at least it happened your second day. If that happened to your first day, you're like bronze the whole way with no crossover, man. That sucks too. You know? Yeah.
So
well, that's perfect way to. Sorry, go ahead, James.
No, that's it. That's it, man. I enjoyed it, man. Hope it wasn't too boring.
No, of course. Listen,
I know.
I always have introduction songs for everybody. Got to give the people what they want. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish the outro like this. I'm a country plowboy, not a urban cowboy, and I don't ride bulls, but I have fought some men. Drive a pickup truck, trust in God and luck, and I live to love Texas women.
Men. Yeah, and all my exes live in Texas. Well, that's
Oh.
not true anymore. Thanks to the Army.
Man, got the law looking for you. This one trying to shoot
Yeah.
you.
Well,
Man, no,
well.
we're not having
But
it.
that's a different podcast.
Hey, everybody, listen up. This is James Barker. This is episode 90 of the Option Podcast. We love you to pieces. I'm going to run my outro and stay with me after this. But for now, we're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.